And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today on the show, as you can now see, look at this. If you guys are watching on YouTube, you can actually see the plan of the show. How close will we stick to that plan? That's always a variable. But today on the show, Raj is here. I am here. The Lakers beat, air quotes, beat the San Antonio Spurs in pretty uninspiring fashion. They were up by plenty throughout the game and then decided it was a good time to just kind of call it a night. Spurs
Mhm.
disagreed. They did not call it a night and made it way closer than it had to be. But Raj, you are here and are like you. The last thing that I said on All Access Lakers before we started recording
Yeah.
was I have thoughts. So normally that doesn't that like that comes before a bit of a rant. Are you buckled in? I don't think you've been here to witness a full on rant before.
N I'm not sure. I'm not sure, and I said, I would probably have to take the other side because I feel like you're about to go way off the spectrum in terms of how you're about to attack Darvin Ham and how I see kind of the timeline reacting. But first, I want to say I'm just gonna put you in a little bit better mood before you get into that rant.
Okay.
Congrats on Shohei Ohtani. Like congrats, you got a superstar in your building. I think
Uh-huh.
they're supposed to go get some guy named Glass now or something. Like, so,
Uh-huh.
like the Dodgers are supposed to be improving. The Lakers did win this game. They improved to 15-9. Anthony Davis looks really good. His jump shot is coming along. So just before you get into all those things, I just want to provide some little background context to just, keep things in perspective before you just attack the head coach. So you go ahead. But I think it'd be hard to kind of attack him as hard as you can after I just made your day a little bit better. I kind of improved your mood just a little bit.
Hold on. I have a very important update here to make on the banner underneath us here. Um
Okay.
all right, so let's go ahead and save that. We will go ahead and throw that. Breaking. Raj watches other sports or mentions other sports. There's that huge news for those of you
Right. Yes.
who have been listening to the show for a long time. Raj, that didn't work. I'm still pissed.
No.
That
Okay.
game, we should have been done with our jobs on All Access Lakers in the third quarter. Like it should have been over.
Fair.
Like
Mm-hmm.
there was no reason for that game to be that stressful. And yeah, that's where we find ourselves. Again, the Lakers beat, or I guess for the first time, the Lakers beat the San Antonio Spurs 122 to 119 in San Antonio on the second night of a back-to-back. LeBron did not play in this one. Anthony Davis did, and his matchup against Victor Wembanyama was super fun. We're going to talk about that in a little bit when we get to parts of the game that we actually enjoyed. But before we get there, we have to talk about like it is now 2 games in a row, Raj,
Mm.
that Darvin goes away from, I think, the team's most natural identity, right? Or if not
Sure.
most natural, but optimized identity. The way that the Lakers should be playing this is pretty damn apparent, I think, right? Like this is not rocket science. The Lakers, when they play wings, good. When the Lakers don't play their wings, not as good. And
Sure.
yet in yet another game, the Lakers close this one with guys who can't get stops. And the Lakers, once again, this is crazy, Raj. You might want to sit
Yep.
down if you aren't. I don't know if you record like Pat McAfee or whatever, but uh
Not sure.
the Lakers, while they were playing guys who struggled to get stops, guess what happens?
Struggle to get stops. Hmm.
They struggled to get stops. Look at that. Would you believe it? You sit your best defensive players when you're up in the game, and somehow, some way, the other team finds a way to make enough baskets to get back into the game. And and this is the thing. Like I said this on the lowdown yesterday, and I guess I'm gonna have to keep on repeating it until my face resembles your hoodie. But
Yeah.
I the Lakers, so the Indiana Pacers this year have been the best offensive team, not just in the league, but ever in terms of just raw efficiency. They have been
Mhm.
so far ahead of everybody that they are basically lapping teams offensively and having a record-setting season to this point. Um, the Lakers turn that team, who normally holds a you know what's their per 36. Let's go here. So they're
They're at
what
like a
should
122
my
offensive
brains
rating or something like
yeah,
that.
I should
Just
have had
they're
this ready to
absurd.
go. So offensive rating, the Indiana Pacers are carrying on this season an offensive rating of 123.5. That is the
Mhm.
best in the NBA this season, and the best if it was to carry out for the entirety of the year, would be the best offensive season that any team has ever had. The Lakers, with all of their wings and the depth that they played with, and yeah, Vando clearly isn't healthy, and you didn't have LeBron in this one, so that's going to impact your defense to a certain extent. But the Lakers, when they played the Indiana Pacers, the Pacers had a 102.3 rating in that game offensively. That would be the worst in the NBA. So the Lakers turned the best and most efficient offense in the NBA into the worst and least efficient offense in the NBA through a bunch of personnel that, again, makes a whole bunch of sense, had been successful before. Since Cam Reddish went to join the starting lineup, right? The Lakers are something like, I think now they're 8-2 or 9-2 since Reddish joined that starting
Mhm.
group. They had won 7 straight in-season tournament games, and
Yeah,
in large part, especially late in that tournament, because of that wing heavy identity and that defensive identity. But again, as soon as he gets the opportunity, harm harm that's there's a Freudian slip. But Ham harkens back to this offensive forward team where
yeah,
he's playing D'Lo and Reeves and Torian Prince together. He had those 3 guys and Christian Wood out there in this one to close when the Lakers needed stops more than they needed buckets. And guess what, man? They didn't get stops. And they also stopped getting buckets because the way that the Lakers have generated offense this year most consistently has been by getting stops and getting out in transition. And once that goes away, the Lakers look like a significantly worse team. And like sometimes something happens that is so obvious and it flies in the face of what should be obvious that you find yourself wondering, am I taking crazy pills? Am I losing my mind? Am I
yeah,
actually smarter than the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers? I don't think I am. But what I do think, though, is that like he has this blind spot, ideologically speaking, and it keeps on hurting the Lakers when he goes back to it. And so, Raj, I'm asking you, pleading with you, begging
sure.
for you to explain this to me. You said you wanted to be the devil's advocate in this one.
Right.
Why does
Mhm.
he keep doing this? What is the point?
So I said I was gonna be a devil's advocate because everyone deserves at least one advocate for them, right? I think
Uh-huh.
every person on the
I would
planet at
argue the
least
devil
deserves.
doesn't, but okay.
No, yeah, probably that's one person who doesn't, but most people deserve an advocate for them. And to be fair, again, with Darvin, you mentioned the Cam Reddish substitute. I don't think you make that substitute without having at least some idea that your defense needed to improve, right? So he subbed Austin Reeves out for Cam Reddish, which is a big move, right? Austin Reeves all summer kind of told he's the third
Mhm.
guy, he's the third star in pictures with LeBron and AD, subbed out for a minimum guy in Cam Reddish. And he's stuck with that. So I think that's number one. Number two, I think tonight was such a strange game. And you'll see this a lot around the league to me where teams go on runs in the fourth quarter. And I'm not excusing it. I'm saying this was a night that Darvin probably thought, hey, look, Christian Wood hasn't played in a long time. Vando's kind of shaken up, and you mentioned this on the All Access Lakers.
It's crazy.
Vando was limping to the scores table not
To the
once.
scorer's table. Not
Yes,
not from the game to the scorer's
no,
table. From the scorer's table into the game. Yeah.
right. Yeah, so Vando is limping to the scores table. He just does not look right. I think Cam Reddish also had like a strange fall, and they were looking at him on the bench. So I think that was also part of it. LeBron was out, so he was trying to get some more size. And again, I'm not excusing this. I think if Vando and Cam were perfectly healthy, I think they should have been playing. The bigger issue tonight, in my opinion, was D'Lo and Austin and Torian not taking their, foot off the pedal, just completely turning the car off defensively. To me, like
Like on
I
the
think
freeway.
that, yeah, just on the freeway, they got out of the car, they left it there and thought someone else would come pick it up and drive it home. To me, that was more the
Yeah.
issue. Look at Anthony Davis's face in the fourth quarter. Every single time he got back, he's like, where are you guys? Like, where's my help? Christian Wood, just zero help defense. And I think we saw part of why he's not playing. And D'Lo, like again, if Cam or even Max, who I thought was better than D'Lo just tonight in terms of his defensive acumen and defensive effort, like that would have been a sub I was fine with. But the Spurs picked up full court. They sped the game up. Awful turnovers. Austin Reeves took a timeout like early in the fourth quarter because he couldn't get the ball in. That killed our timeouts. D'Lo had an awful turnover in the fourth. Like I thought that was more what it was, and then the defensive effort. But so I'm with you in terms of the wing play. I feel like that is our identity. I do think that's something that we have kind of dipped into and have really bought in. Just tonight, I think he tried to buy minutes. And look, a Spurs team that has lost 17 in a row, you think your team can hold a 13-point lead with Anthony Davis and us two on the floor against that team. And it just didn't happen. Do you buy some of that? Or
Well,
are you still kind of giving going on
well, like
going on
all
here?
right, the point you just made.
Mhm.
You have a 13-point lead. You have Anthony
Yeah,
Davis, not just like typical Anthony Davis, but like Anthony Davis
monster.
playing really well, right? In this one, he
Mhm.
finishes the game 37 points, 13 of 23 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3-point range, 9 of 12 from the free throw line, grabs 10 boards, an assist, 4 steals. Like you had Thanos level um
Amazing.
Anthony
Mhm.
Davis in this one. And again, right? Like, he scored 40, he went for 40 and 20 in the in-season tournament final game.
Mhm.
He had like 37 in what was it, 17 last night or whatever it was. In this one, he finished with 37 and 10. So he is on a freaking tear,
Yeah.
offensively, especially. And you would think that, like, yeah, you have a 13-point lead. You have AD, who is still going to play the kind of defense that makes him Anthony Davis, and he is playing as well as he is offensively. That's a blowout. You're playing against
Mhm.
a team that had lost 17 straight games coming into this one. That should be a blowout. That should be a nice, easy, comfortable win. But that trio that you mentioned, right? Austin Reeves,
Mhm.
D'Angelo Russell, Torian Prince is so bad together. And they have been so bad together this year that no, actually, you are making that game significantly
Mhm.
more difficult than it has to be when those guys go in there. And like this is the thing. And it's I think simultaneously Darvin's best and worst quality is the amount of trust that he has in his guys, right? He will, I wouldn't go so far as to um I wouldn't be as hyperbolic as it has been in my mentions where somebody called him a inspirational speaker, not a
Mhm.
basketball coach. I wouldn't go that far, but that is like what he is best at. It appears to be is getting and maintaining buy-in from his guys. And I think what we have seen here is again this blind spot where last year, um, at the beginning of the year when they had all the tiny little people, he was just trying to get as much NBA talent on the court as possible. So that's why you had like
Right.
Patrick Beverly playing small forward, and obviously I think sometimes he went even too far where you had Austin Reeves playing center in a game, but like that mistake of playing Austin Reeves at center is the kind of thing that you do when ideologically you see that as like okay, that's a mistake that you make when when you see the game a certain way. And even when the Lakers got, they traded Russ for they traded Kendrick for Rui, and then they
Really.
traded
Mhm.
Russ for you know D'Angelo Russell and Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt. And when the Lakers finally did have some perimeter size, you still saw Ham going with 3 tiny guard lineups. Remember, that was a thing that we were concerned about
Yeah.
going even into the playoffs. And so, like, again, this is to me, um, that amount of trust that he has in guys and the way that they feel that trust is, I think, his best character trait, but also his worst one. Where in this case, with D'Angelo Russell, Torian Prince, and Austin Reeves, he trusts that group immensely, and he shouldn't. Like, what we have learned at this point is that, like, actually know that that is a group that you are now okay to move away from. You have the personnel available to where you don't have to go keep throwing that pitch, and
Yeah.
in this game, I thought, and in the Dallas game, when the Lakers kept struggling to get stops, guess which three guys were on the perimeter?
Yeah, yeah, that's the tough part. I think the tough part with those three, and I agree, like that like I don't know how do you say, like a threesome, like just does not work together. They just don't rebound, they don't defend well enough. And I think again, like I think changing the starters to where your most like coveted kind of guy that you brought up all summer to the bench, I think that took a lot. And I think he's trying to buy
Hmm.
minutes. And again, in a game like tonight, I think you'll see coaches try to experiment and try to see like what works. I'm sure this is a unit coming in, Anthony. So the lineup that closed this game. The three guys you talked about, Austin, D'Lo, and Torian, and then AD and Christian Wood. They played like around 8 games together. Tonight they were a minus 62 in 7 minutes, and that was all in the fourth quarter. It was like they
Hmm.
give up like 187, net rating. I think a lot of that is because they're four guys. Christian Wood does rebound, but Torian, Austin, D'Lo just don't defend well enough. And then you have AD doing a lot defensively. But I agree with you. I think when you have those three, and Torian's played really well recently, and that goes to your point of believing in a guy even when he's not playing well, right? Both of us were kind
Hmm.
of advocating for Torian to kind of move to the bench for other wings, for even Max Christie. And Torian has kind of paid off on that belief. He's shooting, I think, over 40% from three in the last 10 games. He's been hot. He's played well, and he's already getting his 30 minutes. D'Lo gets his around 25 to 30. Austin gets his 25 to 30. And it's really hard to like try to make a rotation where all three of those kind of are off the floor at all times. They're going to play together. I think the other issue is you have so many guys who need minutes. Like this was the first time Christian Wood has played in 5 games, So he's gonna try to keep him out there. Like he's gonna try to stick with him and see, hey, this is a bad Spurs team. Let's get them some minutes. Jackson Hayes played 7. There's just a ton of guys who need minutes. Gabe Vincent is coming back in about 4 or 5 days. That injects more like rotation questions. Max Christie is a guy that I think needs more minutes, but I just don't know where he goes. So I think it's really tough to be like, hey, this lineup, like these three cannot play together under no circumstances, no matter what the lineup data is telling you. Because like those are three guys that are just penciled into his rotation. Like it's really tough to have those three not play at all. And then with LeBron out today, it also like confused things. So like, yeah, this was an annoying game. Like Anthony, if this game ended with like 6 minutes left in the fourth, like our conversation is totally different, right?
Yeah.
We're having a lot of different conversations. We're talking about Anthony Davis regaining. Well, I'm sure we'll still get into that, but Anthony Davis just regaining his dominance offensively. And there's a point Christian Wood hits a 3 in the corner. I think both of us aren't sure if he can shoot. I don't think he can shoot, but he hits a corner 3,
I
and
don't know
so
if he thinks
Lakers
he
go
can
up.
shoot.
Oh, he thinks he can shoot for sure. Like the shots he takes tells me he thinks he can shoot. I don't think he can shoot, but my opinion doesn't matter on his shot
But
selection.
like
But like anyway,
like some guys though, like the ball leaves their fingers and they're confident
mhm,
enough. Like Malik
yeah.
Beasley, right? Like he holds his fall. Like as we talk
Oh,
right
it's
now, there's a
beautiful.
decent chance that Beasley thinks like he's holding up his follow through right now. Like
Mhm,
while you and I are talking,
right.
I'd never really
Yeah,
see Wood do that as much. I don't think he's very confident when the ball leaves his fingers. Like when the ball leaves his fingers, it's like please, please, please.
it like
Please,
swishes
please.
through, and he's still kind of I'm unsure.
Like, "Hey,
Like
he's
the
yeah,
ball,
he's chasing, like, you know how, like, you sprint
he
to the
chased the
basket if
rebound.
you think
Yeah.
you're gonna yeah, like, he's, like, sprinting after a rebound as the ball, like, swishes through. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and he
Anyways,
took, like, 2 free throws tonight, he missed both, but, like, he took a 3, it put us up 13, 6.5
yeah,
left, AD is already on
should
the
be over.
floor, and I'm sure yeah, and Darvin's like, "Hey, I have 2 guards, I have one who's a super veteran guard, D'Lo's in his, like, 9th year, I
Mhm.
have Austin Reeves, who's another ball handler out there, and I have Anthony Davis. I should be able to win 6 minutes or at least tie. You should go even with the San Antonio Spurs with 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
Again, I don't care who's out there. Us two plus AD, Austin, and D'Lo should be able to at least play even. And they lost it by like 18. It's like, or
Yeah.
more than that actually. So yeah, it's tough for me to like go in this game and just directly point all the fingers to Darvin. He might get like he might get a hand, but like all 10,
Mhm.
I can't point all 10 at Darvin. I like
You
that's
have
tough
people, like,
in the
actually pointing like this, like, they're just, like, pointing with all of their fingers towards the
right, yeah,
um
like a spell. Yeah.
Spirit
I think
fingers.
that's how spells
Those aren't
work. I'm
spirit
not sure.
fingers. These are spirit fingers. So, like, I think no, like, and that is always a point worth making, right? No matter who is on the court, to a certain extent, they have to execute, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, they were playing as if the game, had already been finished, and
Hmm.
that is why it looked as ugly as it did. But I still think though that, like, so the point that you just made as far as the personnel, you have Anthony Davis playing like an MVP. You
Hmm.
have a veteran point guard in D'Angelo Russell, who, like, he's a veteran in terms of like the amount of time he has spent in the league, but he does not play like a veteran point guard. He made some of the
Sometimes
dumbest
no.
passes in that stretch, right? And shots for that matter.
Hmm.
You have a second year guard in Austin Reeves, right? Am I right? I always forget if he's
30,
second or third.
30. Hmm.
So a third year guard in Austin Reeves, and you have Torian Prince, who, like, yeah, has been playing better lately, but like had also been playing really poorly before this stretch, right? And so, like, and then the other guy that you're bringing on there, was so far in the doghouse that, like, we were surprised to see him in this one.
Hmm.
So, like, yeah, those guys do need to collectively play better than they did, but also, it shouldn't exactly surprise anybody that that combination of players out there would maybe fumble away a game, even against the San Antonio Spurs. And while it's happening, we're all sitting there like, any sub, anything,
Right.
like
Hmm.
no adjustment whatsoever. Like they're just allowed to keep on going. And it wasn't like D'Angelo Russell was lighting the world on fire before that stretch either. Russell finishes this one 12 points. He did have his 10 assists, um, 6 of 13 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3-point range, 0 of 1 from the free throw line, and was a -6 in a game that the Lakers at various points led by like almost 20. Um,
Yeah.
this was like he was playing poorly, and the Lakers clearly needed somebody out there to bring some physicality. So whether that was Cam, whether that was Max, Vando had a wrap on his back, so he wasn't going to go back into the game. But at some point, you have to make an adjustment, one
Yeah.
adjustment. And it's the same thing that, like, in yesterday's game against Dallas, or a couple nights ago, if for those of you who are listening on the pod feed, like when Dante Exum is like walking around setting the arena on fire, like,
Hmm.
maybe, just maybe, adjust from the ignore that guy in the corner defense,
Right.
and
Hmm.
and you have guys who are ignoring him, who aren't help side impact defenders anyway. Just tell them, stay home just like a step, like, stay like a step closer to that guy, or hustle out there a little bit harder so that he actually feels your presence there. And no, at no point was there an adjustment there.
Yeah.
At no point was there an adjustment here tonight. And it's the same thing with Darvin, where the things have to like literally be crumbling around him for him to consider an adjustment. For him to, like, maybe, like, it's hard enough to get him to call a timeout because his fingers and his hands are nice and warm and calm in those pockets of his. But then, like, to get him to, through that timeout or in that timeout, make any adjustment, like, it needs to be a cataclysmic demise for something to be like,
Yeah.
the crypto arena has to be like falling over, like being blown over. Godzilla and King Kong have to be wrestling on top of the city for him to think about, like, oh, this isn't going very well.
It's
And that's the part of this, is that, like, he has to be aware that it isn't going very well, but I'm not positive he is.
isn't there like a Godzilla Kong movie or something? And didn't that
It's
come
coming
out? I
out.
think
There's
there
like
was
a
like,
baby King Kong in the
oh,
trailer.
okay. Yeah, I heard about that. I look, just to be fair, I have my hands in my pockets right now. I'm a person who gets cold very easily, so totally understand it from Darvin. But no, that is
So
one of like
no, I love that as you were Darvin Ham's devil's advocate right now, your hands go in your pockets. You're presenting the defense of Darvin Ham, and
yeah,
your
right.
hands are in your pockets. And I'm sitting here doing all kinds of
I
going
know
full
you're doing all these
Catholic
hand
in
shows.
talking about the shit.
My hands are like freezing cold, putting in my pocket. No, that is one of my like biggest concerns, at least with Darvin. I think he does kind of stick to his game plan. He takes a while to adjust, and that in that Dallas game, just like I thought it was tough because I think Luca was kind of killing any coverage, and obviously they were leaving Dante Exum. I also think if you go back and rewatch, like they were also not telling D'Lo to just like meander around the floor and just half double, half go back. Like there was just there was a big drop off from the IST to our defensive effort against Dallas. That wasn't just game plan. That wasn't just like Dante Exum specific. That was guys just playing off their guy for no reason. I thought Austin, Rui, D'Lo, even LeBron to an extent, like really overhelped for no reason. I think that's one of my concerns with Darvin. But tonight, like also, I just want to put out there, Wemby was special in that run. Like he was hitting step back threes and he was running the floor. They were actually throwing him the ball a few times, which was rare tonight, and he still ended up with some crazy line. But that's one of my concerns for sure with Darvin. He takes a while. I just like I've seen, and I see this with players and I see this with coaches as well. It's just when I get a playoff run under the belt, that kind of tells me more of who you are. And I think the IST also that did a lot for me in terms of the players as well. Like who can go and who can't, right? Who can get to that level and who cannot. I think that was important. I think that's something that IST was really able to kind of shine through. And I think the playoffs told that a lot too, right? I think Darvin took some time to make adjustments, but at least like I know like when the going gets tough, when there's like when it's 2-2 coming back, like can you make the right move? And look in the regular season, I just think you're not going to see it as much as you'd like, Anthony. Like you have a team 12 deep, like it's very hard to just cycle through rotations. It's hard to be so cold and cut with like decisions, right? I think like lineups need to be given
But he did
time and
though.
grace.
In this one, he
I mean,
did. Like in this one, he tweaked his rotation to ensure that the guys who were playing really poorly stayed out there.
yeah, but I mean, like I think for that it was just like again, you're up 13 against a bad team, a really bad offensive team, right? So one that shouldn't be able to score on you, and you have an offensive unit out there in terms of his head, and that's where I get from your point in terms of how he sees things. He's like, look, we have a 13-point lead. I'm going to throw an offensive haymaker unit out there. So that's Austin, that's D'Lo, that's Christian Wood, that's AD and Torian, right? Those are all supposed to be scorers. And they just could not score at the end of the game. The traps destroyed our guards as they usually do. The full court pressure destroyed our guards, and not having LeBron out there kind of took the offense out. I think in that portion of the game, it's tough to be like, let me throw Vando and Cam out there when really the Spurs offense was let's turn them over and run the hell out of it. Right. There wasn't really
Mhm.
half court. It was Wemby taking that one step back three over AD and then Wemby running the floor and having like Torian on his back and just dunking it or getting to the free throw line on Christian Wood. Like those stuff are tough to me to be like, let's throw a hobbled Vando or Cam, who I think also got shaken up. We don't have any news on that yet, but Cam didn't really play in the fourth, which tells me that because he played so well. Like I'm hoping that was kind of the reason. But that's where I'm at with this tonight. I just can't go to where you're at, where it's like this has got to be cold cut. I think that's tough in a rotation that has so many guys that need to play.
So we're left with hoping that guys are injured.
No,
So that, like, that's
no.
the explanation for why they weren't playing. Like, the
Well,
coach has been so is so questionable that, like, you're basically sitting here not that you're hoping you are hoping
sure.
for injuries. It's that, like, the hope here is that Ham isn't just bad at his job, but that somebody is actually hurt and therefore cannot play. To me, if you have a
Hmm.
team that has title aspirations, that can't be something that you're hoping for with your coach. You
Sure.
know, like and this is his second year, man. Like I understand last year at various points in the season, I was willing to excuse some rookie mistakes, even if they were super frustrating, given that it was a LeBron team and it was just another version of another way that the Lakers are making life more difficult on LeBron to not just saddle him with Russell Westbrook, but also give him a rookie head coach who's going to be learning on the job as well. And in this case, the Lakers now have, shed that saddlebag who was Russell Westbrook, but now also I'm growing more concerned almost by the game with Darvin Ham. And again, this isn't like this isn't some like just kind of stupid theory, offhand theory that I am hoping that the Lakers like you know that was unproven, that I'm hoping that the Lakers realize that their identity is this wing based theory. Um, this is, now proven to a pretty decent extent. You go through the entirety of the knockout rounds with that identity, and in each game, take whatever team out of their game. You turned a Phoenix Suns offense with Devin Booker and Kevin Durant on the court at the same time into a bunch of hapless nitwits who couldn't get a shot up in one of the biggest
Yeah,
possessions of the game. You turn a New Orleans Pelicans team that had played really, really well. You made them play so bad. You had Stephen A. Smith fat shaming Zion Williamson for like 4 days afterward.
mhm,
And then after that, in the championship game, again, you turn the best offensive team in the league and statistically the most efficient offense of all time into not just the worst offense in the league right now, but one by leaps and bounds, where they are 4 points worse per 100 possessions than the next worst offense would have been if that was their on season production. So,
yeah,
like, this isn't just like me saying, man, it sure would be nice if we saw what that group looks like. No, we have seen what that group looks like, and we know
for
what
sure.
that identity looks like. And yet now for 2 games in a row, Ham has gone away from that identity. And in one game, it bit them in the ass to the extent that they lost. And by the way, a winnable game. That was a Dallas Mavericks team on the second night of a back-to-back, playing without Kyrie Irving and without other important parts of their rotation. The Lakers were otherwise basically fully healthy, minus Gabe Vincent, and Jared Vanderbilt apparently is still on a minute restriction and or still banged up. Or no, he didn't
Yeah.
play in that.
No, he didn't
So
play in Dallas.
like, but that was still a game that, like, and by the way, like, the Lakers were playing, like, throughout that game. We were on All Access Lakers, which, by the way, tune
Yeah,
into every night if you can. Playback.tv/All Access Lakers is where you find us. But throughout that game, we were sitting there saying, like, man, the Lakers aren't even playing well. How is this a 5-point game? And it's because the
yeah,
Lakers have a ton of talent. But and like in games prior, when the Lakers went with that wing heavy rotation, essentially what was happening is a team would start out, looking somewhat comfortable, right? A couple buckets here and there, and it would be kind of competitive. And then all of a sudden the Lakers would just shut the water off, and that team would just kind of that offense would just kind of suffocate, and the Lakers would go on enough of a run to create enough separation to where, like, yeah, maybe it gets competitive at other points, but it takes so much work to score against that defense that by the time it comes time to win that game, that team has no legs. And in this case,
yeah,
though, the Lakers played, again, relied on their offense in the same way that they did to start the year. And by the way, I have to, accept some not blame, because I'm not making any of these decisions, but I have to accept the fact that I was wrong coming into this season. I thought that the Lakers offense would be explosive enough that they can build their identity off of their offense with spacing and with ball movement and with all of those things. I wound up being wrong. Actually, what is best is relying more heavily on these wings. And we have now learned this over games plural, wins plural. Their most impressive wins on the season have come by way of that identity. And then
yeah,
to immediately ditch the identity, lose one game, then come back the next game, right, and go right back to that identity against a team that had lost 17 in a row. Watch them go on a run to get back into the game and come damn close to losing to winning this one in the fourth quarter. And at no point think, maybe we should go back to that identity that made us look overwhelming otherwise, to not at
yeah,
any point there adjust. Like, that's just bad coaching. Like, if it was any other coach that we didn't have a vested interest in hoping that guy works out, we would be sitting here wondering, what the hell is Ham doing? They were doing really, like, right. Like, if we were watching, if let's say Darvin Ham is coaching, like, we'll say the Milwaukee Bucks or something like that, which more on them here in a little bit, because a really funny story is apparently proceeding on Twitter while you and I are talking. But
mm,
imagine Darvin is coaching, like, he takes over for Mike Budenholzer. And
okay,
and Milwaukee plays really, really well with a certain identity. And then we see Darvin go away from it, having watched enough Milwaukee Bucks basketball randomly, which is the kind of thing that I do because I'm a nutcase. I would be sitting here saying, like, what is Ham doing? What is going like, are we sure about Darvin Ham? And,
Yeah.
for us, I'm asking that question, and I feel like, the response is, yeah, I'm sure about Darvin Ham, but it's more out of hope than it is, I'm
Sure.
sure.
Well, sure. I think we don't know is Darwin like Eric Spoelstra? Probably not. I don't think he's like one of the worst coaches in the league. And to bring up the Milwaukee Bucks, they're doing some funky stuff. Like they're not running Dame Giannis pick and roll. That's something like I would scream about. Like it's like if the Lakers
Yeah.
just ran no LeBron AD actions, that's something that would really.
And I don't know about their
get...
coach either. like
I'm shocked.
Raj, they aren't sure about their coach either. Yeah, Bobby
No.
Portis is screaming at everybody in the locker room, and Damon's like texting blow by blow to Chris Haynes about it. They aren't thrilled either.
That's true. Hey, Giannis is the one that picked that coach, so he has a lot more power than I think most people know. But like to me, like the reason again, like I don't know. I saw one playoff run. I thought Darvin made a lot of like the right adjustments in terms of like Vando switching on to Draymond to end the Steph Curry pick and roll, right? And like putting AD on as the helper and running Austin AD pick and roll against Memphis late in games because they knew they were dropping back, like stuff like that. To me, with Darvin, I think he did all right stuff in the playoffs, but we don't know. We won't know until it gets there. One thing that I kind of hang on is D'Lo hasn't closed very many games. Like that closing lineup doesn't close very often. He's pretty much separated Austin D'Lo as much as he can, right? And Austin's well, yeah, and that's correct. And like I think he's kind of figured out that's why the starting lineup change came was like, hey, those two cannot play together. And that's I keep telling that's a tough thing to do to like bench your one guy that you really like brought up all of the summer. And I think like not only getting Cam and part of the thing you talked about with Darvin, getting guys to believe in not only what he's coaching, but believe in themselves in a role that he's kind of specialized for them. Getting Cam Reddish to become a all defensive level wing. I don't think Darvin's going to get all the credit for that, but I think like he should get if there's a pie for that, I think he should get a slice, right? I think like that, like if there's a Cam Reddish pie,
I'm not saying he's the worst coach in the league. Like I'm not saying
no.
he is like Byron Scott levels of bad. I'm concerned that he isn't good enough to coach a championship level team. That's what I'm nervous about.
And look, that's a fair assessment. And honestly, I don't have the answer for that. I don't know. I do like I don't like his offensive schemes very much. I feel like, I'm not sure the offense kind of matched the personnel, and we're starting to see that shift, right? And that's again another thing. We're seeing a lot more AD post-ups, a lot more AD one-on-ones with clear sides. Not a lot of the Austin pick and roll has like diminished a ton ever since like the last few games, and I think it's helped Austin as well. He gets to pick his spots a little bit more than just giving an Austin offensive unit. So I'm seeing things come in like Anthony. I don't think they're coming at the pace that like fans want and we want, but I do see slow kind of adjustments. And the sub pattern is kind of what it is. And like if this continues, then yeah, I'm on board with your the angry Darvin train that has left your station a while ago. I'll hop on it whenever it gets to my stop. But like for now, I think it's tough when Torian's starting, and it's tough to like kind of cross his minutes and take him away from D'Lo and Austin. And then hey, you have Cam in the rotation, Max Christie, a guy who I think needs to play more. But again, tough to like take whose minutes do you take away from. Rui played 7 minutes in the Dallas game, right? Because he was terrible. And again, Rui's another guy that's had his minutes kind of go up and down. That's another decision you have to make because he's been bad defensively lately. Tonight was probably the best Rui game. And maybe that goes to your point that he probably should have closed, but sure,
maybe.
But maybe Rui should have been in there. But in any case, like he's starting to get his rhythm back. It's just we don't know. I don't know if Darvin's the like championship right coach. We just went through a bunch of coaches, but I would at least like to see it. And I just can't jump on the Darvin's not ready, or like I think it's very tough to go from a team that's 2-10 to take them on a playoff run and like question if he has kind of the guts to make the tough decisions. I think he's made a few. Like there's some more that are coming. I'm sure there's a conversation with D'Lo. Like he can't play this way. Like he can't only play good when there's money on the line. Like there's got to be some conversation where like his effort, like his effort in that Indiana game And like everyone talks about everyone else, D'Lo was awesome defensively, deflecting, talking shit to Bruce Brown.
Mhm.
Like that has gone. Like his effort in these last 2 games have been like it was preseason. So that's another thing that I'm kind of looking at and glaring at as something that needs to be fixed. But I don't think you'll get your answer until it's too late, sadly. Like that's like you probably won't know if Darvin's the right coach for a title team until the playoffs kind of go through and you see guys when it matters. But like he got Cam Reddish in the rotation. He's got Max Christie in the rotation. Those two guys don't look like they're going anywhere. LeBron comes back. I still think they're going to lean in. Like when it all mattered, when 500,000 was on the line, when the biggest stakes so far of this season was on the line, Anthony, they went to your lineups. They went to Vando, they went to Cam, they went to they went to LeBron, they went to only attacking the paint. They did all the stuff you would want to see. I think the regular season they're back to like experimenting and see what works. So we'll see where that goes.
We know what works is the thing. All right,
Yeah.
Lane is saying like we won and Anthony is furious. It's not even that I'm necessarily furious. Like for me, all right,
Imagine if we lost tonight.
then I would have been furious. But then we all should have been furious, man.
No, for
You would have
sure. I'm
like
just
the
saying.
Spurs would have snapped their 17-game losing streak against the Lakers. You know how happy all of those stupid Spurs fans would have been? You know what's the only thing worse than a happy Spurs fan? You know what the only thing worse than a happy Spurs fan is? A happy
What's
Celtics fan. That's it.
okay.
That's it. That's the list. You have the happy Celtics fans up here. They're usually happy for some problematic reasons anyway. And then you have happy Spurs fans who, some of that history too. And like if they are happy, something terrible has just happened. And had the
Right.
Spurs beaten the Lakers in this one, which they came really close to, by the way, like
Mm-hmm.
like if the defender who closed on that pass that D'Angelo Russell threw to Torian Prince in the middle of the court, had he been like a step further into the lane, the Spurs I think either tie or take the lead there.
Tied. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like and then you go to overtime, or had Ed Malloy made a very Ed Malloy call and not called
Mm-hmm.
Victor Wembanyama, had he not fouled out Victor Wembanyama on the 3 that he fouled Cam Reddish on or whatever,
Uh-huh.
that it sends you to overtime as well. Like
Mm-hmm.
there are, and now again you're going to overtime against a team that had lost 17 straight. Rome kept on saying that this team, isn't going to give up. They aren't going to give up. They have given up 17 times in a row. Like the only 2 teams that they have beaten this year are the Detroit Pistons and hilariously the Phoenix Suns for some reason on
Mm-hmm.
back-to-backs, which
Right.
maybe the Phoenix Suns are a little paper tigery too, I think is Aaron put it. But yeah, I'm for those of you who are parents who are watching, parents are always in this kind of state of annoyance. Like kids just put you there. And it doesn't take
Mm-hmm.
very much to elevate you. Like every radio talk show host, like just I picture like Skip Bayless not having kids almost as like a crazy upset because he gives such dad energy off.
Okay.
Mad Dog
Mm-hmm.
Russo is, I just picture Mad Dog Russo having like 15 kids at home because it takes so little for him to start screaming at everybody in the studio.
Right.
And in this case, like, this was supposed to be a nice, comfortable win. Yeah, sure, you don't have LeBron James, but you shouldn't need LeBron James to beat the San Antonio Spurs. And it was heading towards being a nice, comfortable win. And you would think when you're up 13 against a team that already struggles to score, maybe, just maybe, it's a good idea to put in a defensive forward lineup there to suffocate that game and send it to its nice, calm, and comfortable end. But no, you went in the opposite direction because again, I think that's how Darvin Ham sees the sport. He would prefer to beat teams through offense, I think, rather than defense. And we'll see if. And now look, to your point, man, when the games did matter more, those were the lineups that he went with. And that is the thing that I think will help me sleep at night at the end of all of this. But he also, as soon as he possibly could, went right back to screw it. Let's try to outscore people. And as it hasn't worked, hasn't necessarily moved off of it either.
I think well, first off, I just want to know. So like when I become a parent, I'm just gonna be more upset all the time.
Always
Like I'm
annoyed.
Okay.
always.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm just
These are
I'm just
Raj's
warning you.
parents' questions. These
Yeah.
these are
No,
my,
I'm
like,
warning you.
parenting it's gonna be
No,
like,
because
I
I'm
don't
also
get
like
upset very easily, so I'm pretty neutral, calm, so I'm guessing, like, once I have a kid, I'll just
no,
raise
what you're
my
gonna do a lot, I can already see. You're
okay.
gonna do this a lot because I've heard you say it, and it's one of my favorite things that you do. It always makes me kind of laugh or whatever. But like when D'Lo throws that pass, you
Yeah.
go like, "Wh- why did you like? What was the like? Like I just
Right.
because like I have an immigrant mom. I'm sure like you come from a you
Right.
have
Same.
immigrant parents as well, and so like my mom, it wasn't all like the person who actually would lose it on me was my white dad, but my mom was the
Right.
one who like snide comment after snide, like, what were you thinking
Mhm.
there? Like, what did you think was gonna happen there? Like when I because I'm a boy and I did all kinds of
Mhm.
stupid boy stuff. And if I ever hurt myself doing any of those stupid boy stuff, instead of like coming in and like, most Mexican moms would be like, oh, mi pobrecito, like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? No, my mom's like, "What'd you think was gonna happen? Like, how'd you think that was gonna go
Right.
when you rode your bike downhill with one hand and broke your wrist? Like, how'd you think that was gonna go, you idiot? Let's get you to the hospital. We have to see how much you're gonna cost me." You know?
Right.
And like I feel
Right.
like that's the energy that you're gonna carry. It's like, well, what?
Right.
Why? What
Yeah,
did you
yeah,
think?
I more question the logic, like, "That doesn't make a lot of sense," you know what I mean? Like, I'm more of a guy who just questions, a lot of logic with it,
The
but the
process? You're
interesting
gonna ask your
yeah, the
kids about
process
process?
yeah. Oh, they're gonna trust the process very early. It's gonna it's gonna be a lot of process conversations.
All right, let's move on here. So we talked about Darvin for 46 minutes. Let's race through well,
Oof.
we hit wings too. So we technically hit the wings aspect of
Mhm.
this as well. I want to talk about Anthony Davis versus Victor
Yes.
Wembanyama, which was incredible. It was like Pacific Rim. You mentioned King Kong against Godzilla. These two huge human beings going blow for blow, but not
Mhm.
just blow for blow, because AD was also shooting the ball well tonight. And so you had
Yeah.
Victor hitting crazy outside shots. You had AD hitting crazy outside shots. You had just, I, you know, we got to watch in real time the evolution of the sport, I think, like where people like Anthony Davis, people like Victor Wembanyama, they just didn't exist. When
Mhm.
a 7'4" guy entered the league when I was growing up, he was Sean Bradley, and you had concern that he could walk and chew gum at the same time.
Right.
When it was Yao Ming, he was smooth in all of those things, but he wasn't light on his feet. Like he was
Mhm.
slow and methodical, and he for damn sure didn't have like a hezzy step back jumper or anything like that. What we watched tonight was incredible. So like how did you were you able to enjoy that matchup even as Darvin Ham was giving me a heart attack?
Oh, absolutely. I thought that was really fun. I thought, because AD gets lost a lot in terms of just how generational he is. One of my favorite Zach Lowe quotes when we traded for Anthony Davis was, "You can get the number one pick in 12 straight drafts and not get an Anthony Davis," right? Like that's how special he is. That's how special he was coming out. He's lost some of that offensive kind of juice. But I thought tonight you saw a lot of the whole package. He tweaked his ankle, Anthony, and the jumper got better, which
First
just makes
first
makes
first game or first
yeah.
point, first like shot of the game. I was
Yeah,
all
and
stoked, like hell yeah, AD against Wemby, let's go! I can't wait to what
yeah,
the fuck, like.
I know, yeah. Almost took the air out of, took the air of all of us. But no, hitting
Yeah,
like step back jump shots and Wemby defending it as well, right? And AD used his advantage, having the power. And you see Wemby come back just silky, like having step back jump shots. He still just makes no sense. Like I've seen him in person, I've seen him like in a game already
yeah.
this year. Still just makes no sense at all. I still think the handle needs to get tighter, but he walked in like 25,
You
10,
realize
and
you're
6
saying the
block.
handle on a 7'4" human being needs to get tighter.
Well, like, just, like, in terms of who like, he's already gonna be special with what he is, but in terms of, like, what
That's insane.
his offensive ceiling, because that handle's going to get tighter. He's a guy that loves basketball, he
No,
lives his
yeah.
life, like,
But
he's gonna
Raj, all
become
right,
even more tougher.
you are what, 7 years younger than me, I think, right? Like, are you even 30 yet? You're not, right?
No, not yet, no.
Oh, okay, so you're almost a decade younger than me. when Sean Bradley entered the league, at no point did I think to myself, that guy needs to work on his handle. And it wasn't because, like, he was an incredible ball handler. It was because anytime that guy dribbled, you knew something terrible was going to happen. So he was better off not dribbling than working
Right.
on his handle. And like with the fact that we are sitting here talking about Anthony Davis, who is a legit 7-footer, and Victor Wembanyama, who was a legit 7-footer and changed, right? Like, it was crazy to see those two stand next to each other and
Yeah.
AD to be looking up the way that he was. And the fact
No.
that you are saying, and again, rightfully, I'm not saying that you're wrong, but it is insane to me, having watched basketball for as long as I have, that we're sitting here and saying this 7'4" human being, this extraterrestrial, needs to focus on his handles, because that was not something that 7'4" people
No.
ever had to worry about when I was growing up. The
No.
extent of working on your handles was put your butt into a defender and make sure that, like, you can dribble
Dribble.
basically stationary to get to whatever hook shot you were going to take.
Yeah, and so the Spurs don't run like a lot of stuff for him, and we were watching the game, and I was just so perplexed that like possession after possession goes by, and the broadcast when he was in like, "Hey, give Wembanyama the ball sometimes. Like it's okay. He might even pass it back to you. You know, like you can give him the ball." But there's a play like he was standing in the corner, and a guard came and screened for him. So he's in the corner. He's on the corner three. Guard comes and screens for him. He curls to the free throw line and takes like a fadeaway jumper. Like, this is freaking
Yeah.
madness. Like, how do you even defend that? Like, I think like Christian Wood tried to put a hand up. No, he's special. And again, like comparing him to AD, I think you just see, I think like out of the draft, there were like some like ridiculous comparisons. They're like, yeah, his floor is Anthony Davis, which I think is kind of it's like really
That's
unfair,
insane.
which could be true too. He could just be a super monster, like one of the best players
Yeah.
to ever touch the basketball. But no, it's cool to watch him. And like again, like I said, his handle's gonna get better. He has like a silky smooth jump shot, hit 2 step back threes. He like runs in transition. A 7'4" guy, Anthony, runs in transition to the corner 3-point line. Like what in the like, and they play him at power forward too, so he's able to get a lot of space. But no, that was a monster matchup, and I love that AD took it personal. Like AD doesn't really like
Yeah.
he doesn't really invest in these kind of things, but you could tell tonight there was a extra juice to him where he's like, oh, I'm going to show off. And AD got his like 35, 36 points as well. It was just a special battle between two monster big men. And again, Wemby, who they don't do anything for. He's playing around a unit that doesn't help him at all. No point guards that can play make any type of consistent way. And he walks into 27. So super special player. It'd be fun to see how they match up on Friday. Like I want to see it, what adjustments both of them make. That was fun. For the first like 42 minutes of this game, that was an extremely fun matchup.
Yeah.
You can just cut those last six out.
Victor Wembanyama finishes this one 30 points on 11 of 21 shooting, 4 of 5 from 3-point range, 4 of 7 from free throw line, 13 boards, 2 assists, 3 steals, 6 blocks. Did foul out. So you compare that stat line to Anthony Davis's 37 points, 10 boards, 4 steals, and assist on 13 of 23 shooting. And yeah, that was a blast to watch. And I'm not kidding. I pick my words generally pretty carefully. And when I say that what we just watched was evolution, I'm being serious. That was some otherworldly stuff that, again, for people who were my age or older, did not watch human beings that big, that long, be that athletic, that coordinated, and that smooth. That is a brand new one. You got like
You
KG
talking about
was
Jackson
somebody.
Hayes there, or
Yeah,
is that
yeah, totally. Yeah. He did have like a running he
he
had like a
did? Yeah,
running layup over Wemby one time. I
Jackson
didn't
Hayes
even
20 years ago would have really just would have
yeah,
broke your mind.
dude, if Jackson Hayes played like in the 70s, he would have been Wilt Chamberlain. Like he would just
No, that's not fair.
Bill Russell would look at him and be like, "What? Hold on." All right. I do want to finish on this one because I want to finish on a light and kind of fun note here. I'm going to show you a clip. Okay, this is
Okay.
Giannis Antetokounmpo. For those of you who are watching on YouTube, again, please hit that subscribe button, rate, review, all that stuff wherever you get your pods. But for those of you who are watching live, I'm going to play this clip, and it's Giannis Antetokounmpo I'm just going to take it out of context, and I'm going to let you guess the context.
Pump to the heart in the chest, because this took a little extra to win this one tonight.
Something's going on in the corner over here.
Albert has no idea what's going on.
And the Pacers, there is Giannis.
Giannis going to the locker room.
Sprinting to the locker room.
Going into the locker room.
Don't ruin a great evening
No.
with some nonsense.
And that's the last time we will see Giannis Antetokounmpo. Would you like to guess what the context is?
Well, so I saw like a scuffle with Portis, so some kind of scuffle with a player, like must have, because they had the in-season tournament game, so like I'm sure there was some back and forth blood still, still waiting on.
Cost some money.
That cost him some money, and they just got a nice rivalry out of it. So I don't know, chasing Miles Turner to the the tunnel.
Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 64 points in this game. So that was him after a win in which he scored 64 points. Okay,
64
breaks the Bucks scoring record previously held by Michael Redd. So I'm just going to read a series of tweets from Chris Haynes. Okay, the Indiana Pacers took the game ball away after Giannis Antetokounmpo's 64-point game. A furious Antetokounmpo took off for the Pacers locker room to attempt at retrieving the ball. It is unclear if he got the ball back. He continues. Bleacher Report sources, initial explanation from one member of the Pacers to Bucks players as to why they took the game ball from Giannis Antetokounmpo. They wanted to give it to a rookie who scored his first career basket. Oscar, now I don't know this guy's. Shibwe is I'm guessing on how to say it, was the only rookie to register his first point. He made one free throw. Again, Hayes continues. Bucks security was able to retrieve the game ball for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Sources say.
Wow.
So you score 64 points. You have the offensive night of your career.
You care about the game ball.
You're ready to fight people over a game ball. Which, by the way, like, this is a funny theory I've always had, right? So game ball. So when a game is getting ready to go, they will have like an assortment of 3 basketballs that a star will be able to choose from, right? That usually the home star chooses from. And like it winds up being the same ball over, that you feel, in your hands and all of that stuff. They may have given him any ball. It doesn't register. It doesn't say on the basketball. There are upwards of like 50 basketballs in that arena at any given point in a game night, And so like and it's not like on that game ball, they take like a branding iron to it and say, this was between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers. That's not how that works. He could they could have handed him. He's like sprinting off to the Indiana Pacers locker room. Some security guard may actually have been like, "Yo, Giannis, over here. Yeah, I got the ball. We got the ball. We're good. We're here. Don't get suspended over a fucking game ball." Like
I imagine Giannis went to security. He's like, "You got to get me that game ball." And that security, just scared, just goes to the other side. Like, just give me any ball, make it sweat a little bit, add some sweat on it. Like, here you go. The guy comes back to Giannis. Here's the game ball. Yeah. That's
or even better, like that Shibwe. I don't know how to. It's TSHIEBWE. Oscar Shibwe is, again, my guess on how to pronounce his name. I'm usually pretty good at these things. I have no idea. But in this case, like, imagine the security guard walks into the locker room. Shibwe's like holding the ball there, like super excited and happy. Like, I got my first point. I scored my first point. His teammates are all rallied around him, like, hell yeah, bud. Like, way to go, man. It sucks we lost, but it's really cool that you got that opportunity. And then the security guard's like, yo, here's this ball. Pretend it was the one you scored with. He pulls it away from some crying rookie to give the ball back to Giannis.
Oh my god!
I don't know which of those scenarios I like more, but it's just so this was going on as we were screaming and arguing about Darvin Ham, and I just had to grab that clip and show it to you because this league refuses to be anything other than the most dramatic at all times.
So much drama. I thought he was running after a player. That looked like pretty stern. He was pointing at people, like asking for it.
Running after a player, like he was running. I want my ball and I want to go home.
Tyrese Halliburton just taking the ball and going home. That's a better story. I'd rather have that. And who's like relaying this to Chris Haynes, like one by one? Like, hey, Chris, we haven't got the ball yet.
Who do you think?
Yeah, that's fair. You think Dame's invested in this story though? Like, Chris is like, hey, Dame, you have the ball yet? No, we don't have it yet.
It would have been great. So the last tweet that he sends about it, that Chris sends about it, is him quote tweeting it. He goes like 2 minutes after sending it. Buck security was able to retrieve the game ball for Giannis Antetokounmpo, the sources say, right? Like, imagine if he just goes like, yo, Dave said they got the ball back. We're good.
Per Dame.
Go on about your life. Dame went and got the ball from Oscar Shibwe. like Buck security guard Bobby Portis went into the locker room to go retrieve a basketball from Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah.
Oh man. Shout out Giannis. 64 points. That should be the story. Instead, it's about him going after a game ball that he may or may not have. If you're Buck security though, like, you think Indiana Buck security is giving you the game ball? Like, was the game in Milwaukee or is it in Indiana?
Mm-hmm. It was in Milwaukee.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's even more hilarious. Like, they could get the game ball back from their own place.
Giannis is apparently, according to George, Giannis is married to Chris Haynes' cousin.
No way.
So
no way. That's there's no way. There's no way. Like, that can't be true.
It's still so much more fun if it's Dame like texting him, "We finally got the ball back, Chris. You can send the tweet. We're good."
Giannis
Bobby ran over there
to Chris Haynes' cousin. There's no way that's.
I don't even know how people know stuff like that. I don't. Could be right, could be wrong. We'll see. All right, we have been going here for about an hour. I'm going to call it here. Again, the Lakers beat the San Antonio Spurs in San Antonio 122-119. They do so without LeBron James. LeBron will have a day to recover, and I would think play Friday against San Antonio. We will see. Oh yeah, good point. He does have that pot was signed. George says regarding Chris Haynes' cousin. But I'm curious if AD will go. Sometimes that ankle kind of stiffens up after you tweak it, right? Though he looked plenty explosive, I thought, throughout the game. So I think he should be able to go. I hope so, because I want to see that rematch between him and Wembanyama. We will await news on Jared Vanderbilt, who it wouldn't surprise me if he misses Friday, because that back, he had a wrap on the back. And again, he was limping to the scorer's table from the bench as he was entering the game. That's usually not a very good sign. And we will see if Cam Reddish is able to go, because he came up a little gimpy at various points throughout this one. If all of those guys are available, I want to see the Lakers go to that identity and really beat the crap out of a Spurs team that they should be able to beat the crap out of. If not, and if they play with their food again, as they have shown a proclivity to do, we will see how that game goes. But until then, and until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Chipalu. You can check us out on All Access Lakers, playback.tv/All Access Lakers. All Ass Lakers is what it's called when I'm on there. just straight ass takes by me. But playback.tv/all-access-Lakers is where you can find us, make an account, sign up with your email, comment, come up on stage, whatever you want. And you can have some fun with me and the guys. So yeah, this has been the Lakers Lounge, a newly produced Lakers Lounge. We're gonna keep on adding here to YouTube. So please hit that subscribe button, comment, like, all of that good stuff. And we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow.